Infinite Warfare has a pretty sprawling campaign. As usual, it has progression-heavy, loadout-based multiplayer, and of course, that third prong of the Call of Duty formula, just the batshit crazy zombies. Miguel Concepcion, you have played a fair amount of it now. You have reviewed or reviewing the game for us, and I wanted to ask your thoughts on it, because it looks pretty crazy. It's this 80s theme in an amusement park, futuristic sci-fi kind of vibes. Like, what are your overall impressions?
Well, my first thought when I played this 80s mode for the first time is I was very surprised that there wasn't this kind of mode in the past, this kind of aesthetic. Usually that's very low-hanging fruit. Maybe that's the reason why Activision waited this long to have a mode like this. It's specifically themed as a sort of Tomorrowland, futuristic theme park, which actually fits the rest of the Infinite Warfare game, despite the fact it's actually set in the 80s.
Yeah, it's weird because like the zombies, like you were saying just before we started this, you were saying they're always kind of this kitchen sink approach, grab bag of just random like it's not even there's not usually a unifying theme, so that's why this is cool. In Black Ops 3 they had the noir one, you know, like right. They started off obviously the Nocturne Toten, that original one in World at War, and that was just that house, which they returned to in Black Ops 3 campaign oddly enough. But then there's a zombie factory, there's the swamp. There's this like abandoned Arctic tanker with Johnny Trejo in it. Like you were saying, right. There's not usually a unifying theme, whereas Zombies in Spaceland, the newest one in Infinite Warfare, really, like you said, feels like they're nailing that aesthetic despite the fact that like they have so many different things going on.
Right. You have the neon art style, you have the hip-hop enthusiast in the tracksuit, you have David Hasselhoff and Pee Wee Herman, aka Paul Rubens, plays this horror film director who sucks your characters into his space world, theme world, implying that the later maps for Infinite Warfare Zombie Mode will have other settings based on his fictional, his imagined horror movies. I assume, if I had to bet, it would probably be other theme parks.
So there's some crazy mechanics going on in this one, namely which one you touched on was David Hasselhoff. Can you tell us about that, how he figures into this weird formula?
You know, in this decade of novelty, unlocking him, David himself, is a novelty bonus. He appears for what feels like 3 minutes as a very helpful NPC within those 3 crucial minutes. It takes some time to unlock him because you have to complete a number of challenges that are based off a random playlist, whether you're killing zombies using melee kills or having to jump while killing them, which is not easy to do because it's not like you can do the double jump in this mode.
Yeah, there's some gravity to the jumps, the regular Call of Duty default jumps. You're just going to drop right away, right?
Right. The one thing that impresses me about this mode is just the level of strategic depth, because you have to open up different parts. You essentially progressively open up the theme park. And it may not be the best strategy to open up the moment you can afford to open up certain sections, because you do run the risk of getting separated from your group. But if you do expand the map, there are different sections with a lot of different types of attractions, different ways to kill enemies in large groups. One of my favorite areas is this arcade that incidentally has Activision arcades in them.
Yeah, you were telling me, that's awesome.
And a dance floor that has a literal laser show that will fry the zombies and you if you happen to be there when the lasers activate.
Does it not make them dance, or am I thinking of something else?
No, they actually will dance on the dance floor. Plus, if you get an explosive boombox or ghetto blaster, as they were called back then, you can actually get them to dance on that around that too.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you saying, like, isn't Hasselhoff a DJ as well over near the arcade from what I played?
Yes, and he initially appears there as a tease that you could potentially get him, and he also implies that there's also a bonus if you manage to get all 3 parts of this server robot, this butler robot that appears in the game. It reminds me a lot of the Omnibot 2000. There was like this big novelty craze of these robots. I think it appeared in like Rocky 3 or Rocky 4. Yeah.
Oh, he brings in Paulie's birthday cake, right? I remember that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned like the progression and like opening up the theme park and this kind of like weirdly methodical like process to it. That's always been the attraction of Zombies, because it started off pretty simple. There were 3 rooms in the original one in World at War. Then they progressively started opening up more and more. And then by the time the one in Black Ops 3 rolled around, the noir one, there's all these tricks you learn, like at the beginning, let the zombies tear down the boards before you shoot them in the head, because then you rebuild the boards, get the money for that. Leaving crawlers, trying to blow the legs off him with grenades, and then leaving that one crawler at the end so he can't catch up to you, but it gives you and your team time to refill your ammo and rebuild the boards if you don't have a power up. But then that's one of the things my friends and I always played online, to figure out these weird, methodical, kind of intricate processes to, like unlock, like in this case, a David Hasselhoff, or like the best gun, the Pack-a-Punch machine. In this game, you have those cards, right? Do you know how those work pretty well?
You perform well enough, you progress through the mode, and you have the ability. They're just like modifiers. You unlock them, and you can get unlimited ammo. Your grenade slots constantly replenish. There are also like one-time bonuses on the ground, and there's sort of like this loot where you could nuke the entire map. So you gotta have the time as to when you pick up that power up. But going back to what you're saying about the crawlers, there's a lot of. It's great that you could bring your tactical knowledge from the prior zombie modes into this, because that technique with the crawler applies in this map as well.
Sure.
I appreciate that that every area you unlock has this different kind of terrain where you think you could actually like funnel enemies down this one walkway, making for easy kills, but you also have to watch behind you, and then you could find yourself overwhelmed if you don't have the right weapons.
Sure, it's weird. It's kind of like the craziness of it all belies the fact there's a lot of nuance to this mode. I mean, like, it's that three-pronged approach with Call of Duty games ever since World at War, right? You have zombies, you have multiplayer, or whatever it happens to be, whether it's zombies or a survival or whatever it was in Modern Warfare 3, and then you have like the regular campaign, but. The lead designer, Brian Bright, when we spoke to him, the lead zombies designer, Infinity Ward recently, he was saying the team was pretty much given free reign to make zombies an escape from the seriousness of the campaign and that like really intense multiplayer. Like, they wanted zombies to go for the kitchen sink approach, go for just all hands on deck, just be crazy with it. And I don't know, where do you think it ranks among the other zombies? I don't know how extensive your history with zombies is, but does this one kind of at the top, head of the pack as far as it goes?
It's near the top, I think. I had the rare opportunity to actually play a couple rounds with some folks from Infinity Ward at the review event, and we must have done maybe 3 rounds, and we had not gotten past maybe the 18th wave.
Yeah.
And they've told me that their QA team has at least gone to 50.
Yeah.
It just goes to show just how deep this mode could potentially be, and how much time you have to put into it.
Sure, and I'm sure later on down the road the DLCs will include new zombies, but for now, Zombies Spaceland is the one that launches in Infinite Warfare.
Correct.
So your review is either up or will be up on site soon at GameSpot.com. You can read a little bit more about zombies in your review. But until then, stay tuned to GameSpot for further news on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, on the campaign, the multiplayer, Miguel's review. We'll have videos going up all week. So thanks, and we'll see you around.